Johnson, is it okay to start?
It looks like you are good to go.
Perfect. All right, welcome to the Delaware County Emergency Communications Center Executive Board meeting today on the April 29th, 2021. The agenda has been posted. Can we do a roll call of membership? I'll go ahead and start out. Commissioner King?
I'm here.
Mr. Singleton?
Here.
Mr. Ingram?
Here.
Mayor Ridenhour?
Here.
Mr. Henry, Commissioner Henry?
I'm here.
I believe the only one we don't have present right now is the sheriff. So, Mr. Brook, I'm going to ask you if I can move this around a little bit. Can we go ahead and approve the minutes before we introduce the guests?
Yeah, absolutely.
I'll take a motion to approve the minutes from March 23rd, 2021.
So moved. So moved. Oh. Second.
Motion first and second. All those in favor just signify by raising your hand. Those opposed? Okay, motion approved. Let's go ahead and do our introduction of guests. Paul, can you go ahead and do that for us?
Yes, we've got two guests with us today. Lori Abrams is my training coordinator here at 911, and we also have Jeff Lacey. I believe he's just on the phone. He's retired law enforcement who is, Jeff, if I get this wrong, correct me, you are involved in the law enforcement program for Muncie Community Schools?
Correct. I'm the current instructor for criminal justice at Muncie Area Career Center. I'm an adjunct instructor for Vincent so that the kids get dual credit, but yes, that's pretty much what I teach.
Okay, and the purpose of having them both here is to, when we get to that discussion item, is they can give us updates on the potential partnership between us and Muncie Community Schools.
Okay, we could probably go ahead and do that if you'd like, Paul, and then we can move into old business.
Okay, that'll be fine. Previous meetings, we have had discussions about joining, looking into a partnership with both Ivy Tech and Muncie Community Schools to have them include in their law enforcement training about the career of being a dispatcher. That's the sometimes forgotten about part of law of public safety. So I don't know, Jeff or Lori, you want to go ahead and start? Lori, you've been to these meetings and let us know where we're at. And Jeff can give us the school side of it.
We had one meeting on Monday. There were several of us involved. We even made discussion of bringing some other agencies. What we're wanting to do is start up some class to get some preliminary training done for the high school students. That way, when they do leave, they can go into transition into a career faster. Jeff, you can probably explain it all better.
Sure. I approached Lori earlier this year and Ashley Dow and Andy Payne from the Sheriff's Department about setting up a jail officer program and a dispatch program for my kids. Ideally, what we would like at the Career Center and what the governor is pushing for, the Department of Education is pushing for, and they are actually in the process of changing all of our curriculum so that we are focusing more on getting these kids ready for the minute they graduate high school to get into the job market. We have such a shortage across the country of employees right now. I know several businessmen that are having problems getting employees. I know you guys on the emergency services side all the way around are having problems getting people in. And ideally what we'd like to do is make this, my program, a feeder program for you to get qualified employees that are homegrown. ideally, what has happened is at the same time the state has stepped in and said, hey, we want to make sure that these kids get some kind of certification that aren't college bound when they leave high school and they are prepared for the job market. And we reached out to you guys to talk to them about getting them certified as dispatchers as much as we possibly can prior to them leaving high school, like part of the second year as a capstone project. That's what they would concentrate on, is the 40-hour jail officer course and the dispatch course, so that when they leave high school, you guys have good quality employees and you can look back and go, this is one of our kids, you know, this is a local kid who's gone through Lacey's program. He's got 2 years of criminal justice behind him. He's got, it's 4 college courses, so it's 12 credit hours of education, and they would make a good employee. They've been certified by our people. That would require Lori to do the training for dispatch and the sheriff's department to do the training for the jail course. And then I would do crisis intervention training, so that they would have maybe 3 certifications as they walked out the door that would make them ideal employees for you, as well as ideal employees for anybody else that needed somebody. So next year will be my first year with the second year students. It's the first year the program is going to have a second year. And we were looking at maybe in the fall doing the dispatch and corrections, so that by the end of the year, or starting it, when they graduate, they could go right into the job market with you guys. That's the ideal program.
Paul, let me ask real quick. So these individuals will come out of school with, and correct me if I'm wrong, all their IDAX training, flip cards, all the licensures that they have to have, or?
No, they won't get the IDAX. They will get their public telecommunicators certification, right, Lori?
Yes, they will get the PST.
And hopefully they can get their CPR. There's a couple other certifications too, but there's some certifications that they can't get done until they come through here, and we do that criminal background. And just a student in training, I don't believe that fits the requirements to actually for us to do a criminal background on that.
All right. Anybody else have anything to add?
A question for Paul. Can't you consider these students to be interns, such that and part of the internship is to go through this background check?
If that's what we call it, yes, that's a potential.
Paul, can I interject here? That was the second part of this, is I'm going to be reaching out to Paul in the sheriff's department, the jail, victim advocate, and a bunch of other of our law enforcement agencies and emergency services, and maybe the EMA to utilize them for internships, because part of the new curriculum is that the state wants them to have an internship of, I forget the amount of hours. I want to say it's somewhere around 60 to 80 hours, and I could be wrong on that. But that's part of the program. So they would technically be considered in an internship program, Paul, with you if you wanted them to a degree. Does that make sense?
How many people, Jeff, can you anticipate or give me a guess on how many people that we would potentially be training, and then the numbers that you would allow into the internship program? I'm guessing there would be an application process and interview process, and to actually get into the internship program. And the reason I ask that is I don't have the physical space nor the people to take a massive amount of interns. You know, we could do a few at a time, but you know, if you're talking 8 to 10, we probably can't accommodate that many at one potentially at one time. So that's why I'm asking about numbers.
Gotcha. Currently, I have 8 returning seniors. So next year I will have 8, with this being the first year of the program. Word hasn't got out. I anticipate more the following year.
Okay.
But I would not push all of them in your direction, Paul, at a single time. Like, I may send one to victim advocate and one to the prosecutor, the courts, adult probation, juvenile probation.
Okay.
Or if you could take 3 or 4, that would be wonderful. You know, and ultimately some of them may end up with 2 internships. Like, they might do an internship with you and then an internship with, say, juvenile probation. So if we had to, I guess we could do 4 for you and then 4 the next semester. If it was an issue, if they had to be interns, you know, we could put it under that. Then we could run 2 classes for you and through you. And ideally that might give you 8 applicants. And the good thing would be you could look at these people and go, that person's a really good person, we need to hire that person. Or, hey, you know, we really don't want to hire this person.
Right.
You know, give you an option to get to know them and go, that's not the person for us. And so, like I said, right now it's 8 divvied up amongst other institutions that are willing to take them.
Right. Have you considered, I know when I was with the PD, I'll go back. When I did my internship back many, many years ago, they put me in uniform and assigned me, and I stayed in uniform division the whole time. Now, when I left, because I think someone probably figured out that's a huge liability risk. So the way they were doing it when I left was, you know, you'd spend a couple weeks in uniform, a couple weeks in detectives, a couple weeks in victims advocates. So you got a well-rounded chance to observe everything.
Yeah, I have yet to speak with Chief Sloan yet about if he would be willing to take in a high school intern. But ideally, I think that would be the same program that we ran right before I left MPD. I was in charge of the intern program.
Sure.
So that's still a lot of the way we handled it was we actually handled it both ways, to be honest with you. Some went and didn't want to do the reserve type program where they went through the 40-hour pre-basic, put on uniforms, and became police officers, and some of them did. So the ones that didn't, they went through and rotated through the programs, and we had several that went right into uniform and did their entire time in uniform. But with high school kids not being 18,
Sure.
it'll probably be more of a do 2 weeks here, do 2 weeks there kind of thing.
Right.
That Paul, let me say, I spoke with Linda Gabbard on Tuesday, and she was checking in with CJIS to see if they were even going to be allowed to do an internship. She called just as this meeting was starting and left a message for me in dispatch, but I have not spoken with her to see if we can even get a clearance yet to allow them to come into the room because of their age.
So,
And some of them will be 18, but probably not 18 to the second half.
Right.
Of their
Yeah. Yeah, when they turn 18, that's a whole different story.
Right.
well, I think we need to take advantage of this as much as we can with Monty
Absolutely.
Community Schools and also Ivy Tech. And even, you know, talk to Ball State when they do internships.
Yep.
and-
Paul, they would probably, when I ran the internship program, we never even thought about sending somebody through dispatch.
Right.
And that was just last year. So I'm assuming Rafus is probably running that and has the contact info. I can reach out to him if you want and get that and put them in touch with you, because some of those kids, I'm sure, would love to come over there in an internship and or part-time work like many people we know have while they've gone to college.
Right. So, yeah, we should take advantage. We just need to get together and work out the logistics of it and
Will do.
make sure that we can do what we're wanting.
Hey, Jeff, Shannon Henry. I met with the chancellor over there at Ivy Tech here about a month ago. I know we have some older dispatch consoles in the basement of the jail. If you want to hook up with me sometime, we go take a look at those. I know I told IB Tech they could have one or two of them. And if that's something that you could find room for somewhere, it might give
Oh,
those,
absolutely.
give those kids, excuse me, a better understanding of what they're going to be doing. I think this committee would be more than happy to make sure you've got something like that.
That's fantastic. Yes, thank you. I didn't even think of that, but yeah, I would appreciate that. And any other equipment issues, like what we were really needing and what we needed this year and we're unsuccessful in, was another older squad car. I have one police car, but if somebody had another one, and it doesn't necessarily have to do anything but other than to be moved from point A to point B, would be great. Just to use as a suspect car, because my car is an actual marked unit. If somebody had one that they were getting rid of or wanted to donate, that would be fantastic. But yeah, I'd love that, Commissioner Henry. That'd be fantastic. Thank you.
Mayor, if you'll check with your police chief, I'll check with the sheriff and see if we have anything.
Anything else, guys? Okay, let's go ahead and move into old business. Can we do the director's report, please?
Okay.
I'm gonna sign out, guys. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir.
Thanks, Jeff.
Thanks, guys. Bye-bye. Thanks, sir.
The phone line update. I believe that is referring to the 911 Vesta install and the bill, and that's all been paid. The commissioner paid that, or agreed to pay that Tuesday, I believe. So that's all been submitted.
Well, Paul, let's talk about the financial item, okay?
Okay.
I mean, that's as good a place as any. I'm not allowed to share the screen, so
You're not allowed to share it?
no. Kyle, can you give me permission?
Yeah, stand by.
Oh, I thought you were in some kind of, you had been bad and you weren't allowed.
Well, I think Kyle was worried about that.
Always. You should be good, John.
All right, I do have it. Thank you. Where is that? Hang on a second. Where's my?
Is it the one I just sent to you that says monetary items?
Yep. I just have to find it on my screen. I got so many things open that. There you go. Right there. You see it?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. What you're talking about, Paul, is the AT&T Vesta 911 system, right?
Correct. That has been all submitted to AT&T for payment now.
Right, and that's the one that there was $1,050,000 grant on.
Yes.
Part of this was paid from your capital fund, which comes from the state 911 money, right?
It wasn't capital, it was just phone tax fees.
Okay, well, whatever. It's a fund that you had for these kind of expenditures.
Yes.
You're gonna get some
600,000,
reimbursement on.
right, 600,000 was paid out of that, and the balance was paid by the commissioners.
Okay. That was the amount of money that was being discussed at last month's meeting as being needed to pay on this 911 system, right?
Yes. Was the 795,000 that was.
Right. So once you talk about the generator.
Okay. We are fortunate in this building that we have a generator. The current generator we have has major problems. It's got, I don't know, 10 or 12, 15 years on it. It's got an oil leak that would be very costly to fix. And then there's some of the computer modules, the automatic start, and some stuff that's just not working. So we had a couple companies come in and provide us quotes. And the one from McAllister Power Systems, which is out of Indianapolis, they have an office here out by the interstate. They were the cheapest and the order was placed with them. After everything's said and done for the generator, for the transfer switch, for the installation, the rigging, everything, the total price is $70,983.
Oh, we've done maintenance after maintenance after maintenance.
Yes,
This thing's about like our air conditioning system over there. It's just
Yes.
holding it out.
right. Everything's getting to the age where something's broken or there's major maintenance issues on it. So,
Well, let me ask you this, and being that I guess it's already been purchased, I mean, and maybe this is a stupid question, but I'm going to throw it out there. Is there such a thing as, I mean, we've got used cars, used trucks. Is there such a thing as a used generator that would be half the cost and still in good condition? I mean, maybe that's a dumb question. I don't know, but
Well, okay. I'm going to play devil's advocate on that. You've got a 24/7 center that we're operating on a used car now, so to speak, that has issues. So you get something, you may have a very short warranty on it, 90 days, 6 months, a year. And then
all I'm asking is was it looked at? That's what I want to know.
no, just for the fact that
flat out, no, it was not looked at.
it was not looked at because we didn't want to be back in the same position we're in now.
So the previous generator was a used generator that we attained.
No, it was a new one when we bought it.
Okay.
But it had about 15 years on it.
All right, I just thought I would ask that.
And I think, correct me if I'm wrong, Paul, but I spoke with you and a couple of the companies back when you got the quotes for these, but that's about the lifespan on a generator.
Yes.
Wasn't it 15 years? And if you got 20, you was really doing something good.
Yeah, that's both on the generator and on the HVAC system. They're both mechanical. It sits outside. It's not necessarily exposed. It's contained in a metal frame unit, but still it's exposed to the elements, hot and cold, and it probably doesn't have that many hours on it, but it just has issues.
Okay, is there anything else on that further item, Paul?
No, that should be here. We ordered that in January, and he said a 12 to 14 week lead time. I've not heard, so that should be coming in. I'm anticipating May, get it installed by June, because when we do that, we're going to be down here and have to move to another site for 24 hours, because everything will be completely down while they do that installation.
What's the source of funding to pay for that generator, Paul?
I don't
He
know.
talked to us about it.
Yeah,
We was gonna come
commissioner
up with the money somehow.
okayed it.
I understand that. I just want that. I mean, it's not like if you have a capital fund or another fund from your 911 proceeds to pay for this stuff, right?
I do not have $70,000. I do have a capital fund that I would have to look at. That's for building. And we could look at that and see how much is in that. Because I think we put 5,000 a year into that capital fund, which was for emergency expenses, you know, building wise. So we could look at that and look at the dollar amount and see if the stipulations, how that account was set up, if that's usable for this, we could potentially use it.
Well, I think it's important for the entire group to understand that there are these expenses that are in the operation that are ongoing every day. And there's a source of funding that you have, some of it that you build in, some of it you don't have.
Absolutely. For, you know, my funding pays for day-to-day stuff, personnel, minor maintenance stuff, utilities, phone lines, that kind of stuff. I do not have a major fund to pay for, you know, the $1.3 million phone system. That's why we had to come to the commissioners and apply for the grant. I don't have a fund that's got $70,000 I can just spend on a generator. I don't have the money to pay on a HVAC. Those are all expenses outside of my normal budget.
Okay. Then that leads us to the central air conditioning.
Well, there's one above it there. I had
Oh, the voice logger, yeah.
Right. I had mentioned to the commissioners, this is a project that I need to finish up. Our voice logger records all radio traffic and all phone traffic that comes through here. The old system was analog and digital. And our current voice logger is set up to record analog and digital. So this upgrade, we would keep the same equipment. They would just do some software tweaks and some connections on the type of phone lines coming into it. And we would be recording everything all in digital. It's just a lot cleaner way of saving this data.
And this
And
you have in your budget now, right?
I have that money in my budget because I've canceled some phone lines. The state's taken over some expenses on costs. So I have saved enough money by canceling items we don't need anymore or don't use or somebody else pays for, that this is one of the areas that I'm pulling money from.
Mr. Brook, then, does he need a vote then to, or a motion and a vote to go ahead and spend that, or can he go ahead and do what he needs to do with that 3,600?
I think that for the board needs to understand these and needs to approve these expenses. Along with, I would take a motion and a vote.
On all three, or just the voice logger for the time being?
Well, the generator is already in process, right, Paul?
Yes, sir.
And then so is the phone line.
And the phone line, and I think both of those really kind of preceded the proper format of this board, right, Paul?
Yes, those were ordered before this board came back into existence.
But the voice logger is not, correct?
Correct. That's something recent.
What about the air conditioning system?
That's something recent that
Okay.
we've just had recent discussions about that.
All right.
So
I-
the generator
recommend-
has, when was the generator ordered?
January of this year.
Okay.
We had problems with it probably the last quarter of 2020.
It was back when all the power kept going out downtown.
Right.
Right.
And that's when we discovered the major problem with the generator, and it actually had to be, we had to have that generator staffed 24 hours a day as it was running. So we had to
So
have
is-
one guy that babysat that generator the whole time.
Right.
That's something that usually has to have inspections done so often, correct?
Well, I think that prior to my coming here, I don't know how often those inspections were done. Since I've been here, we have, we have a HVAC company now that services us regularly, and we've had people out to look at that generator several times since I've been the director here.
Paul, I believe that generator was set to run at a certain time every week, correct?
Yes, and that's part of the computer controls on it are not functional anymore. So the actual generator has an issue with an oil leak. The computer controller on it, it's got to be started manually now. And then there's a switch on the building that has to be switched over manually. It does not do the automatic switch.
I believe the old generator was maintained as well. And like I said, it ran weekly as normally these generators do that are hooked up to facilities like this. But I mean,
yeah, I think Jason, when Jason Rogers was here, I think Jason handled more of that on his side.
He did. Because we had discussed that generator multiple times when Jason was here.
So can I, because I do have something, I have something I cannot miss.
Sure.
But is there a way we can get, the whole board can get a copy of some type of financials? We see these numbers at the end and it would probably be helpful. The nice thing, I was curious about the HVAC. I just was hoping to get this answered before I had to leave. Is that something that we expect that's a new system and that's something we expect to last 20 years as well, like the old one did? Okay,
Yeah.
that's good news. And the generator, if you break it down, if we're putting 5,000 in the capital fund for 15 years, that's enough to pay for it going forward. So that's also good news. We just need to budget for it going forward and figure out how to make sure that we've got the money put aside for these things. I mean, that sounds easy. It's not, I know, but I would love to get some financial information so that we can, we on the board can have an opportunity to know what's going on just a little bit sooner, because these are important items. I mean, you've got to have a generator, you've got to have HVAC, and they don't last forever. So it's things that and I know part of our charge is to put together a budget. So we need to get those financials and be able to start meeting and putting that together.
Right. Mayor, our budget, I have to have the budget turned into the commissioners to review by June 15th. So we're in the process of working on that budget, but all I could give you today would be 2021's budget.
That's okay. Just something
with.
where I can just kind of see, because I hope that maybe I can help in some way. But these are important items, and it's not like there's nothing frivolous here. This is what you need to provide for the safety of the public.
Right.
But anyway, I really apologize, but I have got to go.
Mayor, before you go, I believe we do have 19 and 20 expenditures, correct, Ryan? We do have those, I believe. So we'll get those to you, is what I'm saying.
That would be great.
Okay.
That would be great. Okay.
I'm going to send to the full board the 2021 budget, both the 911, which is up on the screen now, that's a statewide budget. Then there's a separate budget that is out of the county general fund where the city's contribution pays for that.
Okay. All right.
And
Thank you guys so much.
thank you, Mayor.
Thanks.
If I could also get the 2019 and the 2020 expenditures as well, I would really appreciate that. Thank you.
Well, I'll send those to you in a separate email, okay?
Sure, that's great.
I'll make a motion, since Paul's the money, I'll make a motion, we approve the Motorola voice logger.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. All those in favor, if we can, we'll just go ahead with the right hand. Opposed, I can't see everybody, so
Everybody approved it.
motion approved.
Okay.
So Paul, are you pretty much done with the old business aspect of this? Do you have anything more you'd like to add?
Was a central air conditioning system that's
Yeah,
on it.
the air conditioning system. Our current provider has worked on that and worked on it. And we have a new boiler that was put in, I believe, last year, that the commissioners funded that.
Yeah.
That was sort of an emergency thing. Our boiler went out when it was middle of winter, so we had to get that in. So we have half of our HVAC system, which is a year old or less. This one has a current coolant leak. It's in the coil system somewhere. Last year, this is just a quick estimation. We spent at least $7,000 on repairs on the HVAC system last year. And this year we've already spent $4,600 on it. So there's half of our new system that we've spent last year and this year. You know, they are willing to continue to maintain this system, but their recommendation is it's become a money pit, and it's going to continue to cost money, large sums of money, to keep this up and running.
Well, if last year we spent 7 on it, we'll probably spend 10 on it this year.
Yep. Are these the 3 quotes then at the bottom, Paul?
Yes, yes. One is from a local company, our current provider, and one is from Anderson and one's from Indianapolis. Charlie Walker got all 3 of those quotes. They're all commercial companies, and it's all for the exact same equipment. American Standard and the valves and setting it and getting rid of the old units and everything. So Charlie made sure that we were comparing apples to apples.
And do we currently have 7,000? I'm sorry, not for repairs. I'm sorry. Do we currently have the money needed for one of these quotes?
I do not.
Okay. Well,
Here's my other push to get this done. They do have a unit that they can get. It's the only one that they have found. And as with everything else, with automobiles and everything else you try to order, everything is getting back ordered. And my biggest concern is we're coming into summer, and if we don't get it repaired, or at least get the okay where they can reserve that unit, it may be, you know, it may be like the generator, it may be 12 to 14 weeks, and that's a long time to go without an air unit if we go down in the middle of summer.
So what you're saying is the county could end up spending 10 grand anyway while you're waiting on the unit to come in.
Yes, on repairs, yes.
Well, Here's one of my things, and this is the reason why I asked Paul also to start, instead of always coming to the commissioners and asking the commissioners to purchase the phone system, purchase this, purchase that. Since we are jointly with the city, I asked Paul to start bringing this to the 911 board so the city can actually understand how much money that the county's putting out for phone systems, for the generator and for other things that, I'd like for them to understand that we're paying more money out than just the share what we pay with them on the 911, because eventually I would like for the city to help out with some of these items like Paul was talking about, because I know the city pays $800,000, but we also pay a certain amount, but we also continue to pay to upgrade 911 constantly. And I think if it's jointly between us, that we need to start looking at having some sort of budget that's set up between the city and the county to where Paul can go to start fixing these things that keep breaking down on us. So, Troy, would you guys be interested in working with us to put up some kind of an account for Paul to go toward the 911 system? That way, that way we're both working together to make sure these things are getting fixed for the city, for the 911 center.
Well, I know that obviously we have nothing budgeted for that this year. It would be something that I would be interested in discussing for next year's budget. Obviously, I would like to see what the county is spending, and as far as on the 911 call center for the upgrades and stuff. And I agree with you. I think that these are things that should be coming to this board in order to, let everybody know exactly what is being spent, what's actually happening. I know there are a few things that happened while this board was disbanded that I wish hadn't necessarily went through without us, having a say in it. But so I would definitely be willing to have those discussions in order to get something in the budget for next year. So, and I understand it's ridiculous to try and replace HVACs and generators. Being in the maintenance sector, I've had to deal with those in my jobs and stuff as well. So, I can understand the burden that you guys are under. And I know that the city would definitely like to help. I know that at this point, we don't have any of that in our budget, and we didn't really have anything left over that much at the end of the year. So,
right. Well, what we've done is because there's nothing really there, but the commissioners, we use our edit funds when situations like this come up, like the phone system. We just paid out over $700,000 out of our edit funds to go toward the phone system for 911, which, I wish that would have been brought to both the city and the county to get this done, but it was just brought to the county. That's the reason why I'd like for Paul to start bringing it to this board. That way, you and the mayor both know what we're spending, and you guys could actually go back to the council and have a discussion with this. But, it's like we pay our portion of the 911, but we're also still taking care of the updates and everything else from the county standpoint, so it would be nice to have a little bit of help doing this.
Yeah, as far as edit funds, obviously, I have no say in where that money goes.
The mayor takes care of that.
That would definitely be the mayor, and I know he is, due to the financial issues that we had when we took over the city. I know he had used some of those to pay out some negative accounts and such. And I know he's promised them for some park upgrades and stuff that hadn't been done for years. So I don't know where he stands on that. But like I said, anything from the edit would actually have to come from the mayor. But
Right.
I would be happy to sit and discuss some of those issues and some of that with you guys and the mayor as well. I'm
Yeah.
not opposed to helping out with some of these things. I know as of this year, we haven't budgeted for it. So
Right.
if there's money that we have in an edit fund and the mayor could spare, I would not be opposed to helping out. So yeah, I think that's a good idea. And like I agree with you. I think these are definitely things that need to come before this board so that we can start a plan to budget for these things.
Yeah.
And that way we don't get taken by surprise and have to scramble to try and find money here and there.
Right. And I think we're doing a pretty good job working together on this board. So I think we can
I
get
think so as
together and
well.
we can do something. So Brian, if you want to move on, I'm done.
Yeah, that's all right. John, can we go ahead and move on to new business?
Oh, absolutely. I've just sent a copy of the 2021 budget to all the board members. I've also told them what the state sent, according to Gateway, sent to the county, 917,000, I think it was, in statewide fees.
Okay, perfect. So staffing update, we did I got a call earlier, it would be earlier this month from Paul. We had some communication, I believe, with the commissioners and then also with council about doing a lateral transfer for an individual. Have we got that policy changed yet for the county? Maybe that's a commissioner's question or whatnot, but I know Paul and I had discussed it and we're working to do that with a new employee. Has that policy changed, Mr. King? Or?
Ryan, that was introduced at the last council meeting and they suspended the rules and voted
Perfect.
for
Okay.
that to happen.
Yeah, that'd be a council prerogative and a council action to do that.
Right. And
Yeah, I had talked to President Alexander about it, and then myself and Commissioner Henry had gone back and forth, and just honestly just trying to make sure that we were going about it the right way because we need that person in that on that console as quickly as possible. So I just wanted to comment on that. That's something that we're trying to do if we have the possibility to do it from employees that are coming in. Paul, you have anything to add to that?
yeah, the other, that's a big part of it. And I think I had mentioned to the commissioners or mentioned to Mr. Brook about there's a waiting period on insurance as well. And for this particular person with, being a single mom, that's a little stumbling block too.
Perfect. Anything else? Are you good? That was an abrupt stop.
No, that's good on the lateral. And I've also got a potentially of a second lateral transfer to somebody that could come in from another county. So I definitely have one, and I've got a second one that we're going to test and interview next week.
Perfect. Okay. Can we kind of touch on a little bit, Paul? We had a conversation. We spent about 3 hours in dispatch earlier this month discussing some training, trying to get more people to move through. Can you kind of revisit that a little bit for the board?
Yeah, we have taken what is normally been 12 weeks of classroom training, and we're trying to get that compressed into 4 to 5 weeks. Not quite sure how that's going to work yet. The biggest obstacle is for new people learning all the technical stuff that we do, all the different computers and all the different programs. And, so we're actually having to feed them with a fire hose. And we're trying it and then putting them out on the floor, quicker than we would normally do, putting them with trainers, telling the trainers, okay, we have fed them with a fire hose. And, people are probably going to go brain dead when they sit in front of that computer for the first time or the first week and start taking calls and listening and doing that kind of stuff. So we are trying to get people pushed through as quick as we can, but we still got to have certain certifications through the state and through our sponsoring organization that does our medical and, that support us in that. So
Paul, the other thing I wanted to touch on too is when we sat down, we did kind of come to, I guess, maybe a mutual agreement. I mean, I'd like to see more, but we'll hit that when it comes. But having 4 people in training at a time rather than 2, I'd like to see upwards of 6 to 8. But I think we take baby steps and we go through this with 4 and see where we're at. But this. Where I'm finding the chokehold as I very much get into this deeper and deeper within the dispatch center, it feels like it is training, and that's no fault of necessarily any department head. There's a lot of things that have to be done, licensures that have to be attained to be able to sit behind that console. So my ultimate goal, and I assume the board probably would be on board with this also, is to get more people through training. I don't want to diminish the training by shortening it too much, Paul. So I kind of want to advise you a little bit on that, because I think we've got to be careful there. Yeah, I mean, the chokehold where I'm at least finding it is getting these people through training so they can get on the floor. So we hit that pretty hard for a good amount of time.
And the choke point for me is if I have 6 to 8 people, when it's time for them to go to the floor, it's very difficult to place them with people that want to buy into training someone. Not everybody's capable of training. Not everybody wants to train. And I certainly don't want to put a newbie with someone who is tired or disgruntled or not wanting to train because they're not going to get the training that they need.
I'll say it this way, Paul. That way, I mean, we can move on from this. I understand what you're saying. I think honestly, as a paramedic, I didn't care for having new employees necessarily either. It's tiresome. You're babysitting. I get all that. Here's the way I had to change my mindset, though. If that person gets hired and they stay for the long term, that's a vacation day for me. That's a way for me to get away. So in my eyes, I'd like to see everybody encompass this if at all possible, and move these people through and be advocates for them. Because honestly, I mean, I think when we hire these people, we want them to stay. We don't want them to go anywhere. So I looked at it differently. I couldn't stand like it. Paramedic students were okay. New employees, it was a little tougher because there were some other things that you had to deal with. I'm sure that console is not easy by any means to teach someone that has no idea what they're doing how to do it. So I definitely want to take that into consideration. But my mindset was always, if they get through and they stay, that gives me some time away, gives me some time off. So hopefully that relays a little bit here.
I remind them of that. We had a staff meeting yesterday with my supervisors and my admin staff, and we discussed a lot of stuff, but that's one of the things they have to take back and get them to have buy-in, with training these people. So they do get a day off. So they are able to take a vacation. They are able to, we're eight full-time people short. If we get the one lady hired, that'll put us at 7. I've got 2 that just started part-time. If we think they're going to do a decent job, we'll move them up to full-time here rather quickly. But
I just want to make sure, Paul, from a standpoint, and then I'll move on from this, but I want to make sure everybody's being supported. The admin is being supported as well as the admin is supporting the employees and vice versa. Within this issue that we're in, when it comes to the hiring aspect of things, we all have to be working together here, and I want to make sure that's happening. Hence the reason why I pop in as often as I do.
And
So
that's the message that I implored everyone yesterday, and they all agreed that they've got to take that back, and they've got to get buy-in for those that don't have that buy-in, and make sure it works because it benefits them.
Well, and I think the administration also, leads into that buy-in. You know what I mean? You guys have to lead from the front. There's no question about that. So I want to make sure that's stated.
No question. I told them that the work ethic and, people are watching what we're doing,
Yeah.
watching how we perform, watching how we handle stuff, deal with people, everybody's watching. Everybody's watching each other right now.
All right. Well, I've got one additional comment, guys, and then we, guys and gals, and we can move on to decide what the next meeting is. But I do want to add, National Telecommunications Week was this past month. Our dispatchers, I saw there was a video that was put on the county Facebook page. Well done video. Absolutely loved it. I thought it really encompassed what our dispatchers do. I think we need to remember the public that may or may not be watching this, we need to remember, you've got your medics, you've got your police officers, and you've got your firemen, but who takes that phone call to dispatch those people out, to get those people there, to get that help to you? And that's something gets overlooked all the time.
Right.
And, I'm very much trying to, as well as other people on the board, are trying to make sure that everybody gets their fair shake in public safety as a first responder or being involved in telecommunications. It all has to work together. Otherwise it doesn't. It creates a lot of issues. So I want to thank them for that. I truly believe that I know I've been on the other end of that radio. So what I can say is I truly believe that you guys serve an immense purpose within this public safety realm. And I appreciate you. And I'm pretty sure that the police officers, the paramedics, and the firemen within this county appreciate you too. So
well,
go ahead.
We had tremendous response to, asking people to participate. We had enough funds. They were fed multiple times. They were given a little gift, a water bottle, this little 911 water bottle. They were given gift cards. We had a cookout one day for them. The police department brought over a water cooler thing, with the big water, so we don't have to drink tap water. So, everybody, people dropped off sweets and pizza, everything. They were taken care of well. And the ones who responded have said this is the best response that they've seen in several years. So I just want to thank everybody who, I don't want to try to start naming names on who did it because I'm sure I'll miss somebody, but people that participated and kicked in and, wrote cards and letters and stopped by and stuff. Thank you for doing that.
Awesome, guys. And we all appreciate you here. There's no question about that. I know I've been in a lot of conversation with people within, within the floor and within dispatch and the administration. So we appreciate you guys. No question about that.
Right.
So,
as I say all the time to this group and anybody that listens, they're the ones that make this place work.
Absolutely.
They're the ones that make it successful, and the ones that help to have positive outcomes with responders.
Mr. Brook, can we go ahead and decide what the date will be for the next meeting?
Actually, Mr. Ballard, if you don't mind.
Yes, sir. Go ahead.
So I've been receiving some emails anonymously about some questions that some people have, some issues that I would like to at least put out to the board so that we can kind of start maybe answering some of these for people. And then obviously the one email I got is I would assume would have to be from somebody within the organization. It's talking about we are down at least 8 full-time employees and cannot man any shift without And I knew my clock was going to go off at this point. My grandfather clock. So I'll try and speak loudly over it. We cannot man any shift without forcing people to work a second shift almost every day of the week, which means we are operating with 5 dispatchers on days and midnights and 6 on afternoons. We are having times where we do not have enough dispatchers to answer the phone. We have people that are exhausted working multiple shifts, multiple days a week. There has been threats to go to 12-hour shifts, but we don't even have enough people to do that. We only have 2 people in training and no one on the deck for the next group that I'm aware of. So I think that is definitely, an issue. I think morale could be taking a huge hit on something like this. Is there, and I know you were talking about training earlier, are there training officers or just the training director?
We have certified training officers.
Okay, so during training, are those training officers doing the training or is the training director doing the training?
In the classroom, the training director handles training. When they go to the floor, it's a combination of the training officers and my training director.
So they sit at the console while they're training to make sure that this individuals are learning what they need to learn as the calls and stuff come in and everything
Correct.
else.
But I have,
Okay.
okay, let me expound on that. I have some that are great trainers that are willing to train. I have others that have been trainers in the past and they say they don't want to do it anymore.
Okay.
And I have people that absolutely refuse to do it. And I'm of the opinion, that's what I talked about. We have to take that positive message back that it's everyone's responsibility to help train. You know, I won't disagree with much of what you said. Day shift does operate with 5, midnights operates with 5, and afternoons does 6. And we do that to try to cut down on the overtime. I can put minimum staffing back up to 6 or 7 or whatever I need to, but it's going to burn people out more until we get people trained and on the floor. And
So
they,
as far as the application process, how does that go? Because I've had several people also approach me that have emergency services background that says that they had applications in and they weren't even called in for interviews or hired after interviews.
well, just because they have public service background doesn't mean they're the right person for this job. We try to get everybody in and test them. There have been a few people that have applied that we know that have been terminated possibly from other places. I'm not gonna bring somebody else's problems in to here. We have interviewed people with public safety services background and they're not who we're looking for. You know, there's a reason some of those folks are looking for other jobs. You know, it's difficult for us to get people from other agencies to get their cream of the crop.
Right. So
Just because somebody applies and has a public service background, that guarantees them nothing.
sure. No, I totally understand. It just seems in the position that we're in that maybe we should look to expanding our criteria a little bit in order to, just because someone has a problem in one place doesn't necessarily mean they're going to be a problem someplace else. And I just at this point, if we're having this kind of an issue with employees that are upset, I think we should definitely be concerned about what we can do to get more hires. At this point, it says we need to be hiring 8 to 10 at a time on this email. And we're hiring, how many do we have at this point?
I've got 2 on the floor that's in training, and I've got 2 that started, and I'm hoping to put 2 to 3 more with that group from interviews next week.
Or
I
the
just
app,
think they,
go ahead, I'm sorry.
if you want to talk, we can talk privately about names and about issues, but I don't put a lot of stock in anonymous emails. If they can't
Well-
put a name.
Now, hold on, Paul. Let's not go too deep into that because I mean, I've
I
got.
know.
Well, I was going to bring that up
I
as
get
well
what you're
because
saying. Hold on. I get what you're saying. I understand what you're saying. We can go through this privately, but I will say this, Troy, I understand your concern very much so. And I get what you're saying there. To go any deeper than that in a public forum is not something that
I know.
don't will
But
be
it frustrates me when anonymous sources criticize and attack.
John,
sure.
Go
I
ahead.
wouldn't say so. And it says here the whole reason that they sent us anonymously was because the union has been disbanded and they feel there's no protection there for them.
John,
Yes.
since this has to do with personnel, can we have an executive meeting to where the board can sit down and have a discussion about the personnel and like the email that Councilman Ingram is bringing up?
Absolutely. You can discuss personnel issues and performance issues in an executive session pursuant to the
Yeah.
Public Meetings Law.
Yeah. So like instead of us going over this and stuff right now,
I'd be
Councilman
happy to do
Ingram,
that
would
as
you
well.
be interested in doing an executive meeting where we can all sit down and have a discussion about it?
Absolutely. And like I said, I'm not trying to call anybody out here. The
Yeah.
fact of the matter is that I was given this, and then I had received some emails for some other questions that were just basically some general questions, but we can do those in the executive meeting as well. I have no issues with that at all. And I don't want Mr. Singleton to think that I'm trying to call him out or any of that other stuff. But I mean, this is obviously a concern for some people. And that's all I was trying to do was just ask the questions to get the answers.
Yeah.
Well,
So I would be happy to have an executive session. I'm
Part of that-
pretty open. So
I feel like when that stuff happens and I had no prior knowledge of any of that, to say that in a public meeting, I feel sort of blindsided. That comes out of left field and, it really irks me, and the threat of 12-hour shifts. I had people here ask me to look at 12-hour shifts. And my response was that we don't have enough people to run 12-hour shifts. So there was no threat,
okay.
Let's just do this, guys. Let's just do this, okay? I'm not gonna go any deeper into it. We'll do an executive session and go from there. I agree with James. I think that's the appropriate way to go about this at this point. So what I'd like to do, if Mr. Brook, there's no other business, I'd like to get that date of the next meeting.
I have the fourth Tuesday being May 25th.
I'm good with the 25th.
I am too.
I will be out of town on the 25th. I can do the 27th.
Okay.
I'm good with the 27th too.
I could also do the 27th.
Is that all right with everybody, the 27th?
I'm good with it.
At
Yeah.
4?
We'll do this also via Zoom again, if that's all right, Mr. Brook.
I will have to check and see if the governor's order continues that, because right now we're operating under his emergency orders until such time as those are rescinded. So we'll kind of have to play that one by ear.
Okay.
When would you like to do this executive session?
I'd like to do it at least either next week or the week after. That way we can get some of these issues hashed out.
Let's go the week after next.
The Do we have the 11th or the 13th?
11th would be best for me.
Okay,
I could do the 11th, but it would have to be along the same timelines as our meetings.
That would be fine.
That's fine.
Right.
4 o'clock.
okay. I'll set it up for the 11th at 4 PM. Okay.
That would be perfect.
There's, um,
Are we gonna do that by Zoom, John? I was entering something.
we're gonna try and do it by Zoom also. Okay. I'll have to see what the governor's order is because technically his emergency declaration ends April 30th.
Okay.
But I know the legislature was allowing, or modifying the open meetings law to allow possibly some Zoom meetings under certain circumstances. So I don't know if the governor signed that bill yet or not.
Or if not, John, can we just do it like in your office?
Yeah, we can do it there. We can do the
Should we just,
session
should we
here.
just plan on that? Should we just plan on that? Mr.
Yeah, I
Commissioner?
mean, I would prefer to do it in John's office.
Yeah, let's just do it there.
Yeah, I'm fine with that as well.
Okay. All right, I'll set that up. We'll get the notice out. Paul, do you think it would be a problem to get the budget in advance of the meeting on the 27th? So the board can look at it before you have to submit it to the council?
I will work to get that
Because of the timing doesn't work out otherwise.
right. I will do everything I can to get that as close to being done as I can.
Okay, I think that's important for the board to take a look at the budget in advance, so before it's submitted, and then if there's some changes they want to make to it.
So you're looking at that prior to the meeting on the 27th.
Yes.
Okay.
Any other business anybody'd like to bring up before we adjourn?
Troy, will you make sure the mayor's aware of the executive session?
I will send a
Absolutely.
notice out to everybody.
Okay, all right,
If no other business, I'll take a motion to adjourn.
so
So
moved.
moved.
Second.
Motion's been moved and seconded. All those in favor, right hand. Meeting is adjourned. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.